yeah, David the AM here with you tonight on the SFP News Desk, our Sunday night feature program. It's the only night that you can catch that. The rest of the time is our MAGA report, which is Monday through Friday most of the time. Occasionally there can be disruptions, but we try not to let that happen. Life gets in the way. We don't can nothing. We don't have nothing to roll. It's either live or unless it's a documentary or something we're working on. It's either live or nothing. Uh, we don't we don't can them up. We just go. We probably should, but we don't. We keep it as fresh as we can. We come on and we try to talk about those things, and it's always more than we can cover. We're glad you're here. I hope you had a great Father's Day. What a great day. If your dad's living and you were able to tell him that, what a blessing to be able to tell your dad that you love him and spend time with him. Hopefully, at least check in. At least do that. Uh, my sons have done that today. Not possible for them to see me today, but they'll see me soon. So if you've had that, amen. And we need, as we said in the Sunday morning in the Word, we need good men to stand up. We need dads to stand up. We need dads in America to stand up. And I think a lot are, but there's lots that needs to happen. Crazy news over the weekend. We were on our hello Taurus from Bristol, Indiana. I always think of Bristol, Virginia, or Bristol, Tennessee, but Bristol, Indiana. Will you be safe in your travels, my friend? Driving the truck all over the country, making deliveries, and we appreciate you getting the goods and services to the places they need to go. And I don't know if you're a father, but if you are, happy Father's Day to you. But I do appreciate your faith, and I appreciate you checking in with us. You're kind of our roving reporter of at least telling us where you're at. We need like pins to say, where's Terrace? He's here. He's here. He's here. I think every time you've checked in, oh, well, amen. You are a father. Well, happy Father's Day. And to thank you. I am too, and a grandfather. Um, but we, I don't think you've checked in double anywhere. I think you've been somewhere different every time. That's got to be a hard life, but it pays, and you're out there getting it done. I talked to a truck driver the other. Yes, I am. I am a dad. I have two sons. Two sons. I talked to a truck driver in Macon, Georgia. Getting it done. Great attitude. And was showing me tremendous respect as security. And I appreciate that. I really do. Shout out to the girl today at, well, there were two. Let me be fair here. You never know who's watching, In fact, I gave one a card. Let me give a shout out to the lady at the Wendy's this morning. We like their little honey biscuit and stuff. It's not good for you, I'm sure, but we like. And this lady she's so respectful. Obviously, shows us tremendous respect. And so she was the older lady. I won't say older. And what a blessing she was. Then this after church, my wife's got to do this Sunday afternoon KFC kick. But anyway, the young lady, I gave her a card to the podcast. I hope she gets a chance to check in with us. I told her, I said, she said she had told her dad happy Father's Day, or would see him. I don't know if she'd already told him, but when she got off work. And I said, well, he's done a good job. I mean, you can see that. She had awesome customer service, had a big smile. She made the customer experience even better. She went above and beyond. I think it's probably what they expect, but in today's world, it's kind of above and beyond. But she threw the little extra stuff in there. And I appreciate that. I don't mean things in the bag, things in my emotional tank, which mean a lot to me. So she said she was going to check out the podcast. I forget your name if you're watching. God bless you. You made a big difference in this old preacher man's day. And I appreciate that. Well, the title of this program, our news desk, we're going to focus spotlight Middle East. Doesn't mean we might not bring something else up. We could do that. In fact, we might bring up one story, but may not have time. I do want to talk, and the title is kind of one of those. We already know the answer to part of it, but we don't have the full answer. And the question was, are we involved in Israel's war with Iran? Well, yes, we are. I mean, everybody would say, well, sure we are. But to what level? We are involved in different ways. Involvement doesn't just mean, are we helping them fight or defend, which we are certainly helping them defend. I would suspect in an intelligence way, we are helping them in other ways. But are we helping them beyond that? And will we help them beyond that? At first glance, you say no, but then you listen to some voices, and depending on how this thing goes, the involvement could escalate. And there are those trying to escalate. We're going to look at that. It's the same old gang, We're going to talk at least one of them. The same old gang is out there beating the war drums, Let's go. Let's do it. Whether it's Russia, Iran, doesn't matter. Let's just go to war. I mean, that's what a warmonger is. Somebody's a warmonger. They just live for war. Let's go to war. And people that are in war are saying, are you crazy? Don't do it unless you absolutely have to. War is hell. People die. Things are bad. Stay away from it as best you can. I mean, who wants war? But there are people, and they live for it. It's like they salivate. Oh, we get to go to war. And they don't mind one bit sending your sons and daughters to death. They don't. Because they live for war. They live for the thrill of it. It doesn't matter. You could close one war down in 6 months. If there was another one, they'd be happy, just happy, because they like war. They're sick, but they like war. We're going to look at that. So, to what level, are we involved? Because there's different levels, of involvement. The old question about World War II, I've brought it before. We weren't involved, but we got involved. And, was there people, hello, broski, was there people that did things to escalate that behind the scenes to ensure that we got into the war? Well, you have most people would say yes. Some would say, well, we didn't have anything to do with that. Others would counter and say, absolutely, we were involved. So if we've done it before, or even if we didn't, since we're helping Israel, and boy, the heat is rising. God bless my friend Killer Carl. Watched him live Saturday night, which is always a great. He only had 2 guests. Sometimes it was 3 or 4, even 5. It got heated. That show seemed like it ended a little quick. Don't know, Carl. Might have been technical difficulties. It might have just been like this. I've had enough. In the chats and in the guests, huge disagreement about Israel and Iran and the whole situation. So I'm not going to go through their thing, but I was, it definitely had my attention. I mean, I was reading comments, and the anger is rising at this. And I don't really want to go tonight into all those things, although we're going to look at that soon, sure. But tonight I would like to just go into what involvement. Where are we at? So if you look at the news, so even the leftist media is admitting our involvement. Well, and we're going to dive into that, broski. Sorry for the delay, folks. They also need us if they want regime change in Iran, which is something Trump doesn't sound like he wants. No, but that's being talked about. You're right. Right on target. So from some of the leftist media, you get articles that say things such as, from the AP, American air defense systems and a Navy destroyer helped Israel shoot down incoming ballistic missiles. That's involvement. I mean, how much further does it go? We'll see. But that's involvement. So are we involved? Yes, because we just seen where even the leftist media, which likes to hide stuff, or they focus it or craft it to their liking, which they'll do. But even they are, they have no problem. We're involved. The U.S. had both ground-based Patriot missile defense systems and terminal high-altitude air defense systems in the Middle East capable of intercepting ballistic missiles, which we did intercept some, which Iran fired in multiple barrages. By the way, have you ever seen Israel with that type of incoming? No. For all that the Hamas did and Hezbollah and everything, and it was pretty rough. Nothing like this. And thank goodness that the systems work and it's hitting every city, Haifa, Tel Aviv. I mean, you can go up and down the coast, and they're coming in, and some of them are getting through. You probably saw the video of things burning, and there are deaths, just like there is in Iran. A Navy destroyer in the eastern Mediterranean Sea also shot down Iranian missiles heading towards Israel, one official said. The United States also is shifting military resources, which we talked about that, to be fair, including ships in the Middle East in response to the strikes. The Navy directed the USS Thomas Hudner, which is capable of defending against ballistic missiles, to begin sailing from the western Mediterranean Sea toward the eastern Mediterranean. By the way, if you look at a map, and I don't have it in front of me, but if you look at a map, there are 3 carrier groups all told that are sitting in the region, we'll say, not right at the hot spot, but in the region. They knew this was coming. I said at the time that there's fixing to be an Israel strike on Iran. We're shifting resources. They were trying to be coy about it, but they had already begun moving stuff that way anyway. And, so it wasn't like they obviously couldn't pull right up in the Red Sea and just be sitting there right off the coast. That would have been too telling. But they were in the region. They certainly were. And they have directed a second destroyer to begin moving toward it so it can be available if requested by the White House, U.S. officials said. So, and there were multiple media sites from CNN to different ones that said this type of operation was going on, and the administration did not deny that whatsoever. So there you go. Involvement's there. Let me catch up with the chat. Did I hear how U.S. and Israel had worked together to modify their jets so they didn't need to refuel midair? I've heard a little bit of talk about that. A little bit. I'll be honest and say I don't know the full details, but I did. And howdy. I love the name. I said it tonight. Coors Light Connoisseur. Dude, you rock the name. If you got a name that people remember, you're rocking it. If you got a name that was like, I think I remember it. I'm not. Broski Bear. That's a good name. That's easy to remember. I love that name. I love it. And so yeah, you win. You're ahead of the game with that name. It's a little longer, but it fits. It works. So howdy to you. Good to see you back. So yes, and I'm glad you. By the way, I didn't even think about that. I'm glad you brought that up because the other night when I was talking about the difficulties it is for Israel to get to the strike point is a long way. And that's part they never really told. There's always logistical issues. I did mention that. I didn't mention the fuel part, but there's logistical issues for that for Israel because the routes that they have to take to get to a strike point can be really long. And so that would play in, yes. And people are mad, extremely mad, like I said, that we're involved in any way. They just see this as Israel's deal. Get out of it, leave it alone. We're going to get into that a little bit more here in a minute. So there is the involvement. So we don't have to dive down that road of how far. But let's look at some leftists and both sides of the aisle, we'll say. And granted, Rand Paul is sort of on the outside. He was so butthurt. Did you see the video of Rand? He didn't get invited to the White House picnic or something, and he just cried about it. And his grandkids were not going to get to go. And I don't know. There's some infighting going on. He's kind of like that. He ticks people off. So he goes out to the press to have this conversation about how he didn't get invited to the freaking picnic. Dude, I could care less. I mean, you deal with that behind the scenes. We really, come on, press. That's news. We got freaking the Middle East burning. We got Russia, Ukraine, and tons of other stuff going on inside the country and outside. And your interview with him was about he didn't get his invite. He was told he couldn't come to the picnic. Get over yourself. Who cares? I get disinvited to stuff all the time. Or told, I don't even know if I feel welcome. Whatever. Get over it, dude. That's the least of your worries right now. Yes, it is getting so hot fast. So Adam Schiff, that great defender of freedom, right, that he is. But anyway, Democrat California and Senator Rand Paul, Republican Kentucky, and this was from Doha Madani, and said on Meet the Press that, and they seem to agree, the host was Kristen Welker. You can always get a good Sunday morning chat. In the interview, Schiff said he thinks Israel found an opportune moment, quote unquote, to go after Iran's nuclear program after the regime's proxy militias in the region were weakened. Schiff said that he hadn't received a recent intelligence report about the matter with Iran, but that he doesn't support engaging further in direct hostilities. I think, he said, quote, I think the United States should be very loath to engage in another war after the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Schiff told Welker, end quote. Rand Paul said in his interview today that he doesn't consider war to be a game and that hundreds of thousands of people are at risk of being killed, at least, brother, at least. He questioned whether war would push, Iranians toward nationalism, even though the Iranian regime is deeply unpopular among civilians. That's truth. And that's a good point he makes. I'll give him that. Quote, I think it's going to be very hard to come out of this and have a negotiated settlement, end quote, Paul said. Quote, I see more war and more carnage, and if that's not the U.S.'s, and it's not the U.S.'s job to be involved in this war, but we're already involved. So that's the thing. We're already involved. Are we going to get more involved? Now, there is in the top of the news articles, news headlines tonight across multiple websites for news is the story that Israel believed they had the opportunity to take out Khomeini, and that we said no, there's more involvement. There's, according to this, to multiple sites, administration sources, Israel said we can take him out, we can do it, and that Trump himself, the president, said no, not right now, not going to do that. So this story is actually from ABC. I like to pull some different ones just to give a flavor. I'm not an ABC follower, but you know, sometimes you get accused of only reading conservative. I read a lot of news. I make up my own mind and opinion about how far it goes or doesn't go. I don't have a problem looking. I mean, I'm not burning at the stake because I looked at an ABC article. Sometimes they've got the scoop on a story. They just manipulate it. That's what you're going to watch on. Anyway, the U.S. communicated to the Israelis that President Trump is opposed to a plan to kill Iranian Supreme Commander Ayatollah Khomeini. Can you imagine? And now that's how hot this could get. Can you imagine the holy war, the holy hell of a holy war, if Khomeini had gotten killed? I have no love for the guy. And if that's what Israel wants to do, I mean, that's what they do. But again, we're involved. And so apparently Trump said no. It goes on to say that the president said this, adding that Iran has not killed an American. Well, they have, but not recently. And discussions of killing political leaders should not be on the table, according to a U.S. official. Well, too late. They've already killed some political leaders, but that's supreme leader. The U.S. is not considering joining the war with Iran to eliminate the nuclear program, according to another U.S. official. Notice the wording. Not considering joining the war. Not considering. Interesting. Interesting the way they phrase that. Broski says Iran will never negotiate. They just buy time to get their uranium enriched. I've never seen Iran and their proxies so weak. It's an opportune time. True, it is. But do you want to be involved as the U.S. in this war? Of course, like connoisseur, war is not good for the people, but it's good for the economy, and that's the sad truth. Truth, yes. Absolutely, yeah. We get more weapons made. We get more money for defense. It does drive the economy. That's the old story, right? The economy's hurting, go to war. That's lots of truth in that. Now, you run a lot of debt, which we've never shown a problem with doing that. But yeah. Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Yakel Leiter, speaking Sunday to ABC's News this week, declined. This is what he said. He declined to rule out that Khamenei was a potential Israeli target, saying that nobody who is threatening the destruction of Israel should be off the target list. So I would say he's very much at the top of the list. But when and where? And will they pull that trigger? It's incredible. It really is. What a time we live in. The JTA, the Jewish Telegraphic Agency, had this to say in the question of America and involvement. As Iran fires back, the question looms, how readily will the U.S. come to Israel's defense this time? There's a picture on the screen of this article of, smoke coming up from, that is from Tehran. This article says that the last time Israel hit Iranian targets in October 2024, the White House expressed understanding and conveyed that the attack had been coordinated. This time, the statement issued by the U.S. Secretary of State in the immediate aftermath of the attacks smacked of distancing. Quote, tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran, end quote, Marco Rubio said late Thursday in a statement. Quote, we are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region, end quote, he said. Quote, Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces, we're involved, and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. And let me be clear, this is how easily we could get involved. Remember, what was that? Last year when we had the two military members killed in Jordan, these regional partners. Well, there's a few nation states there that work with Israel, some behind the scenes, some more openly. And we have American military personnel in those places, and diplomats, and families, and workers, and all these things. And wouldn't it be just like Iran or someone else, whoever that someone could be, we could theorize a lot of things, to hit something like that? And boom, we would be in, say, a barracks. Barracks filled with, Marines, or a ship, gets sunk. Who shot it? Who fired at it? That's what's never known, right? Because this is interesting. They say this because President Trump has issued, and he's wavering a little bit, but he's issued a declaration about this. Yeah, it's a lot. We're deep. We're up to the neck. It's just, do we go all the way? The differences between the two responses underscore a question that has loomed since Donald Trump retook the White House in January. Again, this is coming from Israeli press. Will he come to Israel's defense as Joe Biden did? God, Joe Biden's your defense? That question, and they didn't even like each other. That question became pressing on Friday morning as Iran sent drones toward Israel in the first wave in an anticipated response. The IDF said it was working to shoot the drones down. Trump said shortly beforehand that the United States would respond to protect its own interest and Israel if Iran retaliated. Israeli officials said they believed that the United States was working to reform a coalition that helped defend Israel against Iranian missiles last year. But both the terms and tenor of the response were starkly different. In October, Israel was planning a retaliatory attack after Iran sent missiles toward Israel, which U.S. forces helped knock out of the air. As signs of an imminent Israeli attack heightened, the Biden Pentagon posted photos of combat aircraft landing in Germany, and John Kirby, then the National Security Council spokesman, addressed them during the press conference. And we remember that attack well. After a few waves, it didn't come to much. And of course, Israel didn't respond in kind. They hit some sites, but nothing like that we see them doing now. Our commitment to Israel's security remains ironclad, and that means as appropriate, making force changes, posture that we think needs to be made to help Israel defend itself, Kirby said then. After the attack, a senior Biden official made clear that the United States was not directly involved and warned Iran not to retaliate against U.S. targets. But the official also said that the Biden White House was pleased with Israel's action. Instead of declaring Israel's attack unilateral, the official emphasized coordination. So the president back then was offering unity and solidarity, is what they're saying. Trump offered little in the way of support before or after Israel's attack on Iranian nuclear sites early Friday morning. Beforehand, he conveyed openly that he did not want it to happen. He did do that. He began pulling personnel out of the region, not sending them in. Well, I wouldn't say totally out of the region, but out of the immediate region. As long as I think there is the prospect of an agreement, I don't want them going in because that would blow it, Trump told reporters at the White House hours before the attack, referring to his negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program. Hours before the attack, he reiterated the position. Now, here's an interesting point. Did Israel go on ahead, and did the president, is he not going to say it openly now, but, or at least we don't know, he could, but did Israel move on this? Maybe, and the president did say, let's give negotiations a chance. I think we're close. Did Israel pull the trigger and say, no, we're just going to hit it, and we're not going to let these negotiations go forward? Now, that's what some would say. And that's how this gets sticky, because then you've got an open combat going on, and then where do we defend and what do we do? And because we helped Israel, Iran says, forget you, no negotiation. Now, I don't think they would have made an agreement anyway, but it gives them the ability to play tough and all that. That's true too, and yes, it did play into that. It did play into that. So there's this in the Middle East. There's always this cat and mouse thing going on, And what do you prop in any war or any action? Sure. So this is the new Cold War. It's starting to get cold, ain't it? Even after the attack, and he said he hoped he could return to the negotiating table. The situations were different, they go on to say. They go on to say perhaps the biggest change ever is who occupies the White House. The Israelis preferred Trump in last year's U.S. election, believing him to be a stauncher ally as support for Israel appeared to be on the decline in the Democratic Party. Netanyahu started the second Trump presidency projecting public confidence in his belief that Trump would get out of his way in a way that Biden, who sought to moderate Israel's conduct of the Gaza war, would not. Quote, when Israel and the United States don't work together, that creates problems, Netanyahu said in February at his first meeting with Trump this presidency. When the other side sees daylight between us, and occasionally in the last few years, to put it mildly, they saw daylight, then it's more difficult. Such barely veiled digs at the Biden-infuriated Biden administration alumni. Biden flew to Israel the days after the mass massacre on Israel, the massacre of Israelis on October 7th, 2023. The first president who visited Israel in wartime, he stood by the country, and increasing numbers of Democrats recoiled at Israel's war conduct. Trump appears to have given Netanyahu much of the carte blanche in Gaza that he sought from Biden, but Iran is a different story. Insiders recognized prior to the election that Trump's famous fickleness and aversion to war could pose challenges for Israel. And signs of daylight between Trump and Netanyahu have piled up in the 5 months since Trump re-entered the White House. Now, there are people tonight that say they're working hand in hand, and they hate Trump for it. They're mad. He's actually catching heat because of Israel. People saying the heck with Israel. I mean, it's the anti-Semitism, the hatred. It's on a scale I've not seen in a long, long time, and maybe ever in my lifetime from inside the country. Let's see here. Only 9 countries have nukes. How many nuclear weapons? I thought more than 9. Just learned the other day. Well, I could probably count most of them off. Did you include Israel in that? That's good to have that number. I mean, Pakistan, India, Russia, China, America. That's 5 right there. Britain, I'm sure, has them, correct? Britain, France, Israel. Who else? Who am I missing? They could. Well, and that's a good point because it depends on what your definition, because you could have the smaller nuclear weapons too, what they call the suitcase bombs and stuff. We're talking ballistic missiles with tipped, it depends. So I thought it'd be more too. That sounds low, honestly, but maybe not. It takes a lot. Most countries can get nuclear power, but they can't get to the point to get the uranium where they need it at the pure forms. And I'm not a nuclear scientist, but what they say is they're able to, work and get to that point. Russia said they were going to help Iran. Broski Bear says U.S. or Russia, China, England, France. Oh, no, Korea. I forgot. Yeah. Israel, India, Pakistan. Okay. That's right. Germany's not allowed, I'm sure, because of what happened. Okay. That's good to know. I'd forgotten North Korea. Duh. I don't know what levels they are, but they do say now that they have it. So it's of course Japan and South Korea and everybody else, including us, would be in as a target. Netanyahu was visibly taken aback on October 7th in his second Oval Office meeting with Trump when the president announced, "We're having direct talks with Iran, which were to commence in a few days." Trump loathes intervention. The Gaza conflict is one Israel can handle by itself. War with Iran, with multiple U.S. interests in the region, susceptible to Iranian attack, with Israel's expectation of U.S. backing, is not in his playbook. This is from Israel Press, the JTA. Shira Efron, the research director of Israel's Policy Forum, who has advised a number of Israeli ministries, said in an interview before the attacks that Israeli officials have generally been taken aback by Trump's coolness on the Iran issue. Quote, "This was the sentiment here when Trump was elected. When he came back from Washington's visit, number one," she said, this whole thing was like, oh, the Americans are with us, and that's it. We're going to do whatever we want. And slowly we're seeing that it's not necessarily happening. So you don't have him in your back pocket. And they probably are closer. That's fair, too. I would have thought the same thing because of their work and close for the first two with America. That's the money and the military base. But Erdogan in Turkey is a nut. My God, well, it's not much better there in Saudi Arabia, but I guess Canada, as the 51st state, they depend on us. I thought Australia would too. But they're so far away, nobody wants to fight them. So, yeah. It's too hard. Israeli officials have been wiser to pay attention to how markedly different the second Trump presidency was from the first, Efron said. Gone were the hawks. who guided his hand then. He has gotten rid of a lot of people around him who are like that. But we're going to mention one here in a minute who's bumping them gums a whole lot about going to war here once again. And those folks who have made it in this time around were without, who made it in this time around were out within months. Chief among them was his national security advisor, Mike Waltz. One factor in Waltz's removal was a report denied by Waltz that he was coordinating closely with Netanyahu on Iran. Interesting. Others who have listened carefully to what Trump said and to trends in the United States and MAGA, and clearly this idea that they don't want a war, she said. Trump's vice president, J.D. Vance, is an isolationist. His director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, this week posted reminiscences of a visit to Hiroshima, the Japanese city devastated by U.S. bomb, widely believed to have ended World War II, with a thinly veiled warning. Quote, warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers, she said. That was from Tulsi Gabbard. You probably heard about Tucker Carlson's comments. Tucker Carlson is close to Trump's son, Donald Jr., and who has advised Trump on hiring last week, took aim at his fellow broadcaster, Mark Levine. And I like listening to the great one, Mark Levine, but boy, is he a war hawk, who has been outspoken in advocating against any diplomatic concessions to Iran and Russia. When Russia and Ukraine, well, he just was all into that. And I like Mark Levine. I like listening to him, but this has been a dividing line for me and him. It's just how much he wants us to go into these things. He said, they go on to say, why is Mark Levine once again hyperventilating about weapons of mass destruction? Carlson said on June 4th on X, it distracts you from the real goal, which is regime change, which you mentioned, Broski Bear. Young Americans heading back to the Middle East to topple yet another government. Pro-Israel Trump acolytes say they believe he will, at the end of the day, stick by the country, recalling his far-reaching Israel policies in his first term, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, freezing out the Palestinians, and pulling out of the first Iran nuclear deal. Quote, Trump has never identified with the isolationists. Levine said on X just hours before Israel launched strikes, their projection changes nothing. He said repeatedly, Iran must never get a nuclear weapon. Those who vote for him heard him. He was and is abundantly clear. What did the isolationist think he meant? He's not one of them. He never has been. His first term further demonstrated this. But other Israel watchers said Trump, who has clashed over the years with Netanyahu, whom he does not see as sufficiently loyal, could turn on Israel in a way Biden, with his decades of affection for the country, never would. Republican support for Israel is failing, polls show, but that might not even matter. For Trump, alliances mean nothing, said Barbara Slavin, fellow at the Stinson Center, who's written extensively on the U.S.-Iran relationship. Quote, he has always been seen Israel as a tool for his own interests, political and otherwise. So there's a lot of opinions about this back and forth. Trump is no longer seeking re-election, she said. He doesn't need Israel anymore. You know, he really doesn't. So it's interesting to see that opinion from that side of the water and what they're seeing about this and what we're seeing here in America. Coors Light says, connoisseur, excuse me, I think I've read something about a treaty that limited amount of NATO countries having nuclear weapons. I could be wrong. You could be right on that. Ukraine used to have the third most nukes. They did. They were Russia's. That's true, though. Mark Levine. Mark Levine, the great one, they calls himself. So Tucker has been speaking out against Mark Levine. I remember back, and I'm fixing to go to that story, because this is a good jumping off point to it. This is from the Gateway Pundit. And this was today. Again, Sundays are great for news. That's why I love doing the Sunday night show. You get all the Sundays. And then going into Monday and what they're getting ready for the week, diving into the week. So our old friend Lindsey Graham, Mr. Warmonger himself. By the way, I hope your coffee's good tonight. I'd like to refill my cup here in a few minutes. My Father's Day cup. I bought for myself. I like it. Anyway, in an article by Cassandra McDonald, this is posted at 7 p.m. Lindsey Graham is continuing to push for the U.S. to fully enter Israel's war against Iran, including potential regime change efforts. Graham, giddy, this is her phrasing, giddy like a schoolgirl at the prospect of war, made the comments on Sunday's episode of CBS's Face the Nation, longtime program, one of the Sunday morning shows, news shows. Host Margaret Brennan began, quote, "The thing with diplomacy is that the Israeli prime minister is calling for the Iranian people to rise up against the regime, a regime he says is calling for the destruction of his state. It doesn't seem like there's a compromise there. If it's truly this existential, is this just leading us toward the outcome, you say, which is the United States getting involved in military conflict?" Lindsey Graham, quote, "I would love for the regime to fall. If you don't, if you want this regime to stay in power, you are wanting people to oppress the Iranian people. You want people to threaten their neighbors to be the largest. Who wants the largest state sponsor of terrorism to stay in place?" Graham replied. "But regime policy, not the policy of the United States, is not the purpose of this attack yet," Graham continued. The career neoconservative politician continued, quote, "If there's one attack on an American in the Mideast by Iran, then you will get regime change." Quote, "What are we dealing with? We're dealing with a non-negotiable part of the deal," he said. "They can't have a nuclear program. They can't have a bomb. Diplomacy is preferred, as Dick says, but force may be the only option." Graham said that he told President Donald Trump that he needs to help Israel, quote, "finish the job if diplomacy fails." I said, if diplomacy fails, Mr. President, President Trump, you have been great. Help Israel finish the job. I cannot stress to you how, if you want to get Russia right, you want to make China be better, you want to convince international terrorism, we mean business, you have to finish the job with Iran. He's always beating the drums, right? Brennan replied, "We will see if there's any willingness to negotiate. So far, we haven't seen much." Graham said, "There's a big mistake on Iran's part. If we don't have negotiations, it's not because of Trump, it's because of the Ayatollah," Graham said. "You can't necessarily bomb someone into concessions that they're not willing to make," Brennan pointed out. Graham said, "I don't think they have any desire to make concessions." So there's his response. Lindsey, on our list of names that boys shouldn't have. I do remember that. Yeah. He wants your kids. A boy named Lindsey. He's itching for it. And listen, I've said, I realize Iran is the bad bully on the block, especially with Iraq. You know what they are. I mean, with Saddam Hussein, they were the ugly duckling in the, you know, at one time we helped Iran against Iraq. At one time we helped Iraq against Iran. We're always playing the power thing here. Who can we get along with the most? Or we use them both to take out each other. But this is big news. This is where we're at. That's why I asked the question, are we involved? And what does that mean for America? Well, right now it means that we're providing certainly some intelligence. We're providing force. We are providing forces. We're streaming forces on the high seas to be in position to knock out, and have already helped knock out, incoming missiles and or other things that are going on. We've already done that before. We're doing it again. And then you've got the president, and I didn't get down that article yet, but he basically said, if some of our resources are hit, our boys, our soldiers, our ships or whatever, Tehran is leveled. Now, here's where I want to say, if that's the case and everybody's wanting this to happen, how easy would it be to direct, it's been done before, an incoming, sacrifice some young people so they could pull us in? That's my fear. I don't believe that President Trump was involved. He has said he wants to negotiate even after they struck. He said we didn't do it. Let's talk. That's what he said. They don't want to talk. They blame us. You helped, so no talk. But he's trying to tap it down. But this is ugly. This is the ugly part right now. And there has been, I think, Israeli pilot shot down a female. Maybe somebody help me with that. I was busy through the early part of the morning, and it might have been even late last night that I heard about this. I didn't pull it up, but you've already got that going on. Basically, Israel owns the skies. Whatever happened here happened. They got a lucky shot or whatever. But Israel owns the airspace over Iran, especially over Tehran. They have knocked out all the missile defense systems. Iran doesn't really have an air force to speak of, and they've probably already blown up whatever's on the ground. They're flying over Iran at will, striking targets. I could easily pull the trigger on just anything they want to pull it on. And if they keep sending the missiles, Netanyahu says this Tehran will fall. It will burn. That's his word. Will burn. Lindsey Graham is over here saying, we got to finish the job. God, he's itching for war. And so I believe the president has at times had bad people around him, gave him bad advice. But I think he's frustrated. I think the president's frustrated. He's frustrated that Ukraine and Russia has not stopped. He didn't want this to go where it's went. But it is, and he has to deal with it. This is not what he wanted. The foreign policy, even with Gaza, it's not really went, I don't think, the way he really wanted it to go. I think he had a different vision for all of this. Now, I'll put my other hat on for a second. Let me catch up with the chat. Hey, thank you, brother. Yes, and come back. And you be safe out there. Be safe. It's dangerous. I get it. Sometimes they're calling for you. Sometimes they can be dangerous. You be safe out there. It's nice talking with you. Come back anytime. You're good people, I can tell. Broski Bear says, if I didn't know about Lindsey before this and only heard these thoughts on Israel Iran, he's actually not far off. I'm not one to want to get involved in the Middle East. But I get that. And there's that thing to finish the regime off. But I'm going to tell you, and we wouldn't have to, well, we will have to deal with it because we got them here in America. If they turn it into a jihad, if they turn this thing into a holy war, I'm telling you, there ain't enough planes and bombs to stop the horde. Not fully. And that's what I hope doesn't happen here. Because it's one thing to be knocking out these military leaders, military, even staff, even up to generals. A lot of them are dead. But if you hit the religious leaders, that's the way they'd see it, then you got a whole other ballgame. That's what I would say. Sorry, I'm thirsty tonight. Got a little warm today. I think my allergies are kicking in too. I try not to drink too much on the screen, but sometimes you just have to. Broski Bear, Israel said it wasn't true. Okay, it wasn't true. Okay, good. Well, and I heard they own the sky. I mean, Iran's got nothing there. So basically, they're saying stop it or Tehran, it's going to cease. And President Trump said if any of our assets are hit, Tehran, same messaging. Michael says all the so-called Republicans is the problem Trump has. Yeah, that's true. He's got a lot of them. But he's the president, and he has to make the decision. He has to manage the problem. And I don't think he'll dive right in and be sending, F-35s over Tehran or running sorties. But by the way, on X, Lindsey Graham had posted this 3 days ago. He said, "Game on. Pray for Israel. Game on." It's not a game, brother. It's not a game. Practice, not a game. uh, Broski Bear Netanyahu said today that according to his intelligence, Iran, through its proxies, is trying to assassinate Trump twice already. I would not doubt that one bit. Netanyahu really wants to. Yes, yes, yes. He sees him and Trump in shoulder to shoulder, knocking the crap out of the Iranians and anybody else. So I think it gets worse before it gets better. But there's a lot of people going to get involved in the negotiations here. It's not just us. It's China and Russia will be involved too. And they will put. I mean, they got bigger fish to fry. They don't want to see Iran get wiped out. But I mean, do they really care about Iran? No, it's just a tool for them as well. So they don't want their spot right there in the Middle East to be neutralized. So they're going to be applying pressure on the other side. Calm down. Let's rebuild. Let's just rebuild. We'll help get you stuff built. We'll get the weapons built back up. Russia's thinking, man, don't use all them drones. I got to use them on Ukraine because they've been making them there. So it's truly amazing times. It really is. And tonight they hit the nuclear sites again. So we'll see where this goes, but. But what is your thoughts? It's okay. It's open forum. There's a lot of the news articles about that, but that's the gist of it. That's where we're at. And so when I say, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want America to do or not to do? What do you want to see Israel do or not do? What do you want to see with Iran? What is your opinion about this? This is what this forum is for. To tell news, but we could also take the calls through chat or whatever. What do you want to see happen here? What would make you happy to look on the front page of the paper that you look at online or wherever, and you would like that headline to say what in the next 2 weeks? Because I think it's about where this course runs, 2 weeks. This action. Unless it gets really bad. What do you want to see out of the United States, out of Israel, and Iran itself? Because I think it's important. We're involved. How much more involvement do we want? Broski seemed to be considering her, I think. I don't usually agree with him, but finish the job. Much like Mark Levine, the great one, has said, let's do it. Let's finish it. Now listen, I don't want Iran to have a bomb. But there are people that are mad as Hades tonight that we're involved at all. I'm telling you, I've heard it. I've seen it. People are mad as they can be. And they blame Israel for this. And they believe that this whole thing's going to blow up into something much more not just the regional, but across all of the Middle East and spread out, and then we're going to get pulled into the flames of hell because of this if something's not happening. I can tell you that's what's being said. There are people that are blasting Benjamin Netanyahu tonight, and by proxy, the Jewish people. I don't like hearing that, but governments are one thing. People are people. They don't have control of all that. I don't have control of what America does. It'd be like blaming me. I don't have control of what the president does. Broski Bear says, it would make me happy if Christians ruled Israel. Part of me wants to turn Tehran into a parking lot, but I'd rather push regime change and start converting Muslims to Christianity. I understand. Well, obviously that other's not going to happen. Tehran probably is not going to turn into a parking lot. I don't think that they will do that. Although certain targets will be, they'll make this hurt. What I do think is that at the very least, they will look at it that the Iranians have been set back some. Because apparently they kind of have a good idea of their missile stockpiles, and apparently they're burning through them pretty quick. So they can't keep up the current pace without a resupply and a massive one. They're running lower. There's still a lot more there, but not as much as you'd think. I think they're more into the drones. So the big missiles and stuff, that's dwindling quicker. And of course, Israel, I'm sure, is hitting anything that they thought was making missiles, drones, and any other type of aerial vehicle. Those have been wiped out already. Do I really think the Jews currently living in Israel are the Jews of the Bible? I've heard this conversation from many directions, the Caesarians and all that. Do I think that some of the Jews in Israel have connection to the Jews of the Bible? Sure, I do. Are there some there that maybe don't? Sure. There's a lot of people that live in Israel, some that even call themselves Jewish, but they don't know their connection to the ancestors. But yes, I do. I don't think that the whole country is filled with these and I've heard the whole story, the whole where they came from and all that. But I think that is a wipe, or I want to say this without dismissing. I understand what people think about it, but I think that borders on the one. It's not believable, not fully. It can't be, and to make that statement takes a lot of things not in account that should be taken into account. Hey, there's a podcaster. I like to listen to the guy. Love to listen to the guy. I'm not going to name his name because I don't want to throw flames at him. And he's off. I will say he's off the West Coast. He's a great guy. Love the guy. He served in the military. He believe. I've gotten frustrated listening to him at times because of this very subject, and he goes through that whole thing. He has been careful here lately to say he doesn't believe that all Jews are bad. But boy, it sure sounds like it when you listen to him. And he goes through the whole story of who these people are, and it really starts getting tied in that in his mind, all the bad things in the world are held on by a few Jewish people called the Mossad and some others. And they're controlling everything. I don't believe this at any point, even when it's said about the Bilderbergers or whoever. Do they influence the things that go on in the world? Sure. But there are no master people that have every certain thing figured out. Because if they did, they're doing a bad job. Because it blows up in their face all the time. So is there Jewish people involved in a nefarious kind of way? Sure. But so is there a lot of other people. There's no, from my opinion, you're asking my opinion, and I'll probably have people get mad at me about it. I don't think there's this Jewish powerhouse that's controlling everything in your life. No, God is in control. Let's get above that. Is there people that's doing things I wouldn't like? Sure. I don't like they're not Christians. They're very pro a lot of things that I'm against in Israel. But at the same time, it's the country that has been, in many ways, a good friend to us. And they're surrounded by their enemies and have held on. So if they're in control, they sure hadn't controlled the Arabs. Anyway, I'll just say that. If you ask my opinion, that's kind of where I'm at. Michael, Glenn Beck had a 14-minute video talking about the war there. It was Iraq 2.0 saying exactly what you're saying. I believe that too. Do I believe Netanyahu is one of the chosen people? Do I believe that he's? Are you saying that I believe he's Jewish or he's from this militaristic Caesarian background? I get it, brother. I'm not judging you. I just get asked this. Well, I get attacked a lot. I just don't report it a lot. Actually, we're going to start showing some of our attacks on the vent. It doesn't happen every day, but sometimes the attacks I get is that I'm pro-Jew, Well, okay, I am in many ways a Savior's Jew. Do I believe that Netanyahu is one of the chosen people? Well, I do believe he's Jewish. Just by the way, the chosen people, the chosen people are sinners. Yeah, they don't get a pass. God judges them just as harsh as anything, and some of the things they're going to be involved in the future are going to be bad because of their, not recognizing Messiah. Those things are hard to read about in the Bible. They really are. But my podcaster friend, by the way, this is not one because my other one fell apart. But my Bible, and this is where me and him go off the chain, and it really angers me. And he dismisses preachers, pastors like me, and this is not one. I'm just showing it by reference. It is a Bible, and it's a King James Bible, King James version. But he says anybody that has the oh man, I just went blank. Not the Thompsons, but the other one. Oh my gosh, I just went blank. Schofield. That any preacher that has a Schofield Bible is a tool for the devil. Come on. I don't like the Schofield notes, some of them. I don't preach the notes. He says that only support for Israel came because of the Schofield Bible. BS. BS. My support for Israel never came from any note that Schofield ever had in his book. I don't really put a lot of stock in notes. It leads you on further searches. It's just a man's opinion, no matter how great they think they were or are. And I turned his show off one night, and I liked the guy. When he said that, I thought, do you even realize how stupid you sound right now? That you would attack the men of God and saying that you would not support Israel if you didn't have a Schofield Bible? No, that's bull. I don't support. The Bible is not telling me to support a government, but I can tell you I love Jewish people, and I can tell you exactly why. I'm not going to start preaching, although I could. There's lots of places. I'm just going to show you the beginning. Just like Paul, Romans chapter 9, 10, and 11. My reading and study and God working in my life was why, and what you may not know about me, broski, what you may not, let's see, Spartan, you see what I mean? It just comes out of the woodwork. And then there you go, and we go off the chain. I'll give you your point, but don't start calling for the annihilation of Israel, you're gone. If you say kill every Jew, you're gone. I'm just going to put you on notice. I'll give you a lot of space, Spartan. I'll give you a lot of space. But we're not going to talk about the total annihilation of any people on this show. We're just not going to do it. You can have your opinions. I'm not telling you how to think. But don't come in the chat and say that. I've been defending you, brother. I've been defending you. And I need you to work with me. Listen, if you want to do that, start your own podcast. I'm just telling you, I can't do that. And you can have your opinion, just don't start calling for that. But to say that, again, I didn't want to go down this rabbit hole because I knew this was going to happen. But I get attacked for that a lot. But to call me out and say that they mix all this together in one big pot and stir it up and then serve it up. And I'm going to tell you, it's not biblical. I get attacked for the Bible. But, all I do is read it. But somehow, because and what I was going to say that you didn't know is my ministry is to everyone for the gospel. But my burden, reading the Bible, not the notes, the Bible, is my ministry was to Jewish people. That's my ministry. I've been on the streets of Atlanta many, many times, taking Tanakh and other literature to the Jewish people. So when you come in and say that, Spartan, you just can't even imagine. Again, I don't tell you how to think. But when you start coming in and talking about mass annihilation of a group of people, come on, that's not godly. God wants us to win people over. He wants to, and not all are going to listen. No. But you don't change hearts by bombs. You change hearts by the gospel. That's what I'll say. So anyway, I'm okay. I'm not mad. I'm just saying that I don't like the some of the things that's happened in Gaza. I don't like it. Me and my own co-host have had a huge disagreement about this. We got in a pretty good serious argument. I think he was mad at me for 2 days because we just didn't see the same on it. And this is what happened on Carl's program Saturday night. Huge disagreements. And I told my church today, I'm seeing this rise of just inflamed emotions on a scale I've never seen before. It's a great discussion, but I'm going, yeah, right. You're right, Michael. You listen, they didn't have to come in and hit Israel. Did Israel go heavy? Maybe, probably. But you know what? You've angered them. You've angered them. And it is dangerous because it brings in so many things. And that was my point tonight for the United States. But again, I appreciate the question, and I appreciate you saying that. Absolutely, broski. That's the answer. Absolutely. And by the way, they are. They are. It is estimated that 250,000 Muslims come to faith in Christ every month. You just don't hear about it. I mean, it's death for them if they're found out. So, but I'm telling you, people on the ground will tell you. And I know many Jewish people that have been converted, and they're serving Jesus, the Messiah. And I know many Muslims and Israelis, who are working together in peaceful partnership. They're trying to stop this mess. I've always been a big believer of not painting the brush over a whole group. You got to take people individually. Governments, they can be bad. Iran's government is bad. It's no good. It's rotten. The people, they're caught up into that. That'd be like saying, and I've heard people say it, let's just carpet bomb whatever country into submission, turn it back into the sand, and nothing there. Well, that's not good. That's not good. But anyway, and that's what's great about the podcast. You can have a different opinion. I just don't want to hear genocide. I just don't want to hear that. I don't mind you saying, boy, I think Israel is as dirty as the day is long, and they're a cancer. If you want to say that, that's fine. I'm not going to get mad. Rob, he kind of gets mad at that because I'm going to give you your freedom of discussion in the chat. I just don't want genocide talked about. That's just, I just don't like that. I would agree with that, broski. I would agree with that. So, anyway, Martin, I love talking to you. I think you have a lot of interesting discussion, but you do deviate down to the base level on this every time. And I've told Rob offline, I said, I'm okay with you having because I ain't here to tell you how to think, man. That's not my job. I get it. I get it. What you're saying is part. I get all that. And I try to keep that on a level playing field myself. If you're saying that, I got that. I don't have a problem with you saying that you believe that's genocide of Gaza. I don't have any problem with that because that's your belief. What I said is I don't like it when you have said that every Jewish person needs to die. I can't. No, I'm not going to go there. So anyway, that's all I was saying. It's like he came out of the shadows right at the right time. I love you all. It's great discussion. It makes for great programming. It really does. And listen, if I'm wrong on something, I'm wrong. But I'm not wrong because I don't care about people. Because I do. I care about people. And I do care about Palestinians. I do. And I think this, without saying names, I've heard people say, if you don't get them all, then they're just going to be raised up to be terrorists. Come on. I'm not for bombing children and old women and families, and they got nothing to do with that. It's just like us. We don't have anything to do with it. I can't control what the CIA does. I can't control what the FBI does. If we're frustrated with things that they have done, sure, but I can't control it. I can vote and I can pray, but I can't control what even our own country does. We catch heat for that. I catch heat all the time. A lot of comments that come in that I get, a lot of the hate is because I am American, and they hate America. They see America as the same thing, going out here bombing people, and that's from around the world. That's an opinion that many have. Is well, look what you've done. Okay, fair response. But why? Why did we do it? Was it right for us to go into Iraq and bomb the crap out of them and put that? It's going to be debated until Jesus comes back. It's just like, was it right for us to drop the bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima? Was that right? I had to write a paper on that in college. And I couldn't leave it vague. They told me to come. I had to defend my points on whether it shouldn't have been or whether it should have. And so it's still debated to this day. So it gets right into the soul of people. I'll say that. It gets right into the soul of people. And hey, I get it. If you're standing up for a group of people, I get it. You're angry and you hurt because you love people or you think it's wrong. I get that. And it's hard. It's very hard. And we don't all agree on everything. We really don't. And the only reason I said what I said, Spartan, is because I don't want to see that, but I want you to still be able to come here. And I love the talk. And if it's just me and you, we're probably okay. Just don't take it too far. But I mean, Rob, you're brushing him a little wrong, man. He's not in control of that, but he's putting pressure on me. And I love Rob. It's not putting down Rob. Rob just is really upset with you right now. So I would just lay low on that. Just lay low on that, and we'll be fine. That's all I'm saying. Broski Bear, you get me. I love it. It makes for great stuff. It really does. And all of you, I mean, I know all of you, and I talk to all of you. And I love it that we can come together. And it would be boring if we all agreed. It would be absolutely boring. We're all in agreement on what maybe even should happen with Iran here, So, not upset with me now, he was. Yeah, Michael, you take care, brother. Yeah, there's a lot of them, Spartan, that are critical. I've listened to them. You might be shocked at that. I listen to some streams when I have time, and sometimes I listen to all sides of an issue. I do, but I form my own opinion. I don't go because Bob says this, I better believe it. It's my opinion. That's why I say I'm very clear about that. I don't speak for Rob. Me and Rob sometimes don't agree, and that makes for great shows, but sometimes we've had to pull back a little bit because we latched into an argument pretty hard. There's been a couple of times that we both pushed the envelope, and there were times that he was upset with me. We had to have conversations the next day. Hey, we're human. We may be friends, the best of friends, but we do have differences. And there are differences in this that we don't agree on. And, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback, I guess. And sometimes we're ahead of a thing. We're trying to figure out what should happen. I don't know what God has planned. I don't know what these forces have planned. And so I'll be catching up with what happened with the plan. And we'll have lots to talk about going forward. And that's great. I knew the subject tonight was going to be a little bit difficult because anytime that Israel's involved in the operations, it flames. That's why I say the question was, to go back, is if we're involved, and we are, to what level of involvement do we need or should we be in, or where could this go? And I'm not comfortable with some things. I'm not. And I've probably changed on that a little bit. There was probably a time I was a little bit more pro hit them. You get You go through certain phases in your life, and you really try to look at things, and you're trying to look at who influences what. Listen, I get it. These governments they're corrupt. They're horrible. Our own government has been filled with the swamp, or whatever you want to call it. It's filled with people they're horrible. They steal from the people. They commit heinous, behind the scenes, perverted stuff. I mean, they're not paying for it. Who's on the Epstein list? Who was all there? We don't know the answers. And yes, they see that as a Mossad operation. I've heard it all. They believe that Mossad is in full control of all of this and promoting it all around the world, including Ukraine, Russia. I get it. And Spartan will probably jump on board with that. I'm just saying that these people can't be all in control because it blows up in their face all the time. They're not that good. They're good. They're not that good. What drives people is, yes, power and money. The ideologies are just an excuse to get you there. So they turn it into a holy war because that gets the people involved. In the American Civil War, they had to get the people involved with the cause. The issue was states' rights. The cause was slavery. Slavery should have been gone. It shouldn't have been there. But that's what drove passions, was slavery. Whenever we go to war, they had to find a cause to get the American people really on board with it. Weapons of mass destruction, they weren't there. A lot of people said, we got to hit them. We got to stop this. They didn't find them. So they lied. Go figure. What are some subjects that I'm sometimes conflicted on? Oh, that's a good question. I don't even know if I'd use the word conflicted. I'm pretty straight down the line. I pretty much, say where I'm at. What I do is, and issues would be, and it's pretty easy. And I've had a lot of after the show, kind of like the a lot of these shows have when you're a premium member, they'll have another show where they talk about stuff. We may eventually do some of that with their premium thing. We probably will. We'll do that with the event, but we're going to do that a little bit more with some things when we dive into deeper subjects. But one of them would be, a pro-life abortion. And I've had people that I've talked to after the show who wanted to tell me their position. They didn't want to do it on the air, and they wanted to get my opinion on. And so they've asked me if it was okay to call me, and we had conversation. And they wanted to let me know that, that they had an abortion in their life. This is pretty common, but it can be a hot button issue. That's a big one. A big one. The gender is a big one. Same-sex marriage. Those are big issues that, this is what I tell people as a preacher. Get this real quick. I'm not being a smart aleck. I want it to be very clear. I am not your judge. Some people, when they hear the preacher word, they go, oh, well, he's already judged me. David Cordell, am not your judge. I'm not. You don't answer to me. What I do is every Sunday, I just preach the word. The argument would be with God, not with me. So, conflicted me? No. But I always point them back here and say, well, your argument's here. It's not with me. So now someone would say, well, you don't understand what it said about that. Okay, let's talk about it. I think I got a pretty good handle on it, but I'm always wanting to learn more. If you can show me. But those usually go off the rail pretty quick. And I've had those phone calls too. People want to tell me why they think they can commit the sin that they commit and use the Bible as a basis. And I don't usually go far. But that's a good question. I have found there's a lot of people, let's say we were having a discussion about dogs. Oh my goodness. We can talk dogs all day because everybody don't agree on how to take care of a dog. They don't. they'll argue a minute over dogs. So that's a great discussion to have because you get a lot of conflicting information. Or let's say if you want to narrow that down from dogs, let's go pit bulls. If we were to talk about pit bulls, we would have all sorts of discussion. Maybe we'll have that discussion one night. Do I believe that humans have complete free will? Yes, I believe they have free will. However, that free will cannot alter the plan and course of God. That's beyond me. That's like predestination. Some people get really hung up on that. God's plan goes forth. Firm believer. But he already knew that, right? Because he knows the past, the present, and the future. The plan doesn't stop. But do we have a free will? Yeah, I don't have to believe. I got a free will not to believe. That's complete free will because I say, I'm not going to. Now, can God use us in ways that we think it's our will, but maybe it's not? I mean, he there's things that we've seen evil dictators do that we went, wow, that was a miracle. Well, it might have been. I mean, God may have intervened there, and they might not even understand why they did what they did because God, he can bring up kingdoms, he can bring down kingdoms, he can do all that. That's a good question too. And I know that in our course of faith background, we're going to have some differences. I get that. But I think me and you line up really well on most things. And I would be disappointed if we lined up on everything because that would just mean that we're robots and we're not. But again, painting this, it's a lot of roads I could go down. I'll just say that it's not the topic for tonight, but this whole idea of who is a Christian. I know the Bible definition, but those are things you can get in and talk. Example: closing borders is necessary for the country, but some say it goes against the Bible. I've heard those same arguments. We are given the right to rule ourselves, and I don't find anywhere where we have to, what they do. This is the part that irks me, broski. This is a good bring up. What they do, and here's where people go off the rails with the Bible, and I hear it all the time. And everybody's looking for some secret passage now, anyway, because they want to make a TikTok video and say, "Hey, look, they do this all the time. Look, I hate that stuff. Look, like you didn't know that, but I do." Shut up. Half the time they're wrong. Maybe 75% or 80%. They're wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. What they do is they go back and they pull the Old Testament law. Who is the law for? You got to ask the question: who, what, when, where, how. They pull a Jewish law that was made for them and they try to make it apply to everybody else. And they get so messed up. Glad to have you back. Boy, you messed. Coors Light, you left at the wrong time. We've had an interesting, powerful discussion, but I'm glad you're back. But yeah, they go back and they pull an Old Testament law and they try to make it apply today. And then you get the people that argue. You get tons of these arguments back and forth. When I go, what's beautiful about having knowledge, because knowledge is great. Knowledge is power. And some people think because they sort of put you in a box, They put you in a box, they say, you only know here. They have no idea what we know about. They just put you in the box. I can't tell you how many times I've been put in the box and they think that I don't know anything about the topic that they're talking about. After all, what would this dumb, overweight, white, North Georgia redneck preacher, whatever they want to say, what could he possibly know about my culture? See, that's what gets me mad. When we assume that somebody, because of where they are, what they are, who they are, and all that, doesn't know how to learn. And that they, I've studied culture from many cultures. Does that make me an expert? No, but it gives me a good flavor to know what's going on. And sometimes because of my background in ministry, there's been some faith groups that thought this guy can't know. And they talk down to me. And so that when I start having discussion with them, or not debate. I don't really like to use the word debate, but reasoning. We're having a reasoned discussion. A lot of those people clam up because when they find out that you know quite a bit about what they're talking about, they get scared because they really don't know what they think they know. And when you start bringing up points, they go, well, I really don't like to talk about religion. Well, you did up until now. Knowledge is power. And let's face it, most people on the face of the planet today, most, don't have a clue what their faith means. They don't have a clue what their particular culture, because the cultures, the generations have quit being people of faith in anything. I mean, look at the temples, the church houses, the mosques, the whatever. A lot of them are empty. There's nobody going. Some are doing well. But across Europe, it's pretty bad. Go to Australia, pretty bad. So those people, some are coming back to it, but some are don't. They just don't. They don't go. So they just don't know. Broski says, laws are between Old and New Testament. What do you think that is? I have my own thoughts on this, but I'd like to know yours. Well, a lot of the laws in the Old Testament were strictly for the Jewish people. For those Jews, that was a prescribed set of laws that they were supposed to try to follow. Yes, not supposed. They were to follow, or they would be in trouble. But it's impossible to live up to them fully. But they still try. Even today, many of the Orthodox. Most don't. They could care less. They don't. I mean, most Jews are Reformed Jews today. But you still have your Hasidic and, the different groups, the Ashkenazi and all that. But you have the Orthodox that are varying degrees, different levels of that. And I can tell you that. I was outside of an Orthodox church, temple in Atlanta, synagogue. And in Atlanta, they have zones where people in that zone, they're to live. The people there that go to that they don't use power. I mean, so I was watching all these people going to Orthodox synagogue, black hats, the black clothing and all that. And there's some of them there. I've been to more than one, or not in them, but been to them. And I was talking to this Lithuanian man. He was originally from Lithuania. His English was very not great. He actually prayed a blessing over me on the street. His name was Abraham. And he was just a super nice guy. And obviously he wasn't interested in what I had to offer, but he was not offensive to me. And he raised his hand and he quoted a prayer for me. I thought it was sweet. So they're all walking because they're not supposed to drive. Then I look up. It's America, baby. It's all different. And I see a Hummer go by. And it's filled with Jews going to the Orthodox synagogue. So you get a lot of people that it blows your mind because you see all these different things and you're thinking, hey, you're not supposed to do that. It depends on which part they pick and take, right? And I'm sure in Europe they'd go, you people aren't Orthodox. But we can say things about Catholic. There may be Catholic churches out there in Spain that say, well, you're not doing it right. You get that wherever you go. Because they take more of it or less of it, or it's a little more watered down, or it's a little more stringent. But those laws were meant for them. That's not laws that was made for us. Although it does give us an indication of how God felt about a matter. Absolutely. You see, Jesus hung all the commandments on two, and so all of our laws are based on God's law. Without God's law, we don't have law, because we got to have a supreme right and wrong, which is God's law, the basis of all law. I mean, how do you decide what's right and wrong? Well, God solved that for us. He gave us those things. These are right, these are wrong, and that's what law is. And we still have those images on our Capitol, and they still pray, and I mean, Scripture is recited in the state capitals and at the U.S. Capitol. They still do those things. Now they have started letting other ones come in, but usually the Bible is the one that is quoted. That's another good discussion. Same with tattoos. We don't need to keep the law of don't mark your body because that was a ceremonial law. Do you ever get to? Let me tell you. I didn't have them in Atlanta, but let me tell you where I ran into these cats out. I do some security at a local box store now, just one day a week, and I love the job. And I've met a lot of different people at different stations in life, from the very successful all the way down to ones that are they're in the sewer, so to speak. And I try to have open discussion with them whenever I can. I was at the store one day and these cats pulled up. And you want to talk about militant. They pulled up, they were all dressed in black, and they looked like militia. And they jumped out of their car. They just openly took over the front, like outside the store. They set up this huge sign, and they were standing there like a small army. There was about 6 of them, and they were all standing at like attention. And so I'm thinking, okay, I already knew they didn't have approval, but it's all in how you approach stuff. So, and they have these things he's listed on this sign. Did you know this? That God, God gave us this. He gave us this. It was very militant, like we're taking it back. Join the movement kind of thing, We power, baby. That's what I was like, okay, here we go. So I come walking up, hey, what's up? I like to just, it's like, I like the Italian comedian. Was it Malascano? I'm saying his name wrong. I love that guy. He's a little mouth his words sometimes, but he's funny. But hello, what's up? And boy, 4 of those dudes looked at me like I was soon to die. They didn't crack a smile. They had anger projecting from every part of their body that I approached them. But the guy that was over them and another guy, they said, is there a problem? I said, well, maybe. Yeah, it's all how you approach. Didn't want to make it bad. But I said, yeah, they do, broski, they do. So long story short, I said, do you have approval to be here? And one of the 4 that wasn't talking, he threw out there, he said, we don't need approval. This is our area. Oh, just right out there. We don't need approval. Basically, by definition, the area I was in, they were the power. I said, well, we have a problem. And the other guy, because the guy looked at him like, hey, he knew this was going to go in a bad way. He was trying to be nice. The other guy didn't care. He said, hey, let me handle this. He said, what do you mean, man? Why might there be a problem? I said, well, you have to be approved to stand in front of the store. Well, who would I talk to get that? So I already knew the answer. If he hadn't already, there's certain things he could tell me that I would know that he did. I knew he didn't already. He didn't know what he didn't know. And so I was trying to help him. I told him what the process was. He said, so who can I talk to? You can go ahead and talk to management. Management cannot give you that on site. That comes from corporate. So I knew all of this. So I knew they were going to be leaving. So while the 2 guys went in to do it, I thought, hey, let's talk to these guys a little bit. So I'm like, hey, the Black Hebrews. Yeah, I was telling them about, being in Atlanta, talking to these different Jewish groups, and they're looking at me like, you need to go away. So they were not open. I was like, hey, what's your stuff here? And they said, we're recruiting. It's like, oh, really? I was trying to get them to tell me what's the, I knew that I couldn't join, but I was wondering what's the recruiting requirements? What do you got to do to join, man? Well, they didn't like talking to me. So I said, hey, listen, because one of the guys did say, he said, is there going to be a problem with us to stay here till they get back? And I said, oh, no. I'll let the management say what is to happen here. That's not my job. They said, well, what if they say we got to go? What are you going to say? I said, then you're going to go. And the guy says, and you're going to make us? I said, oh, no. No, that's not my job. Well, who's going to do it? I said, well, there's 2 police cruisers right there. I said, that's their job. And yes, they will do it. And boy, they didn't like that. And I said, you know what? They can bring in all the numbers that they need. But we're not going to have that problem, are we? Well, they just stiffened back up at attention. So I just patrolled. I said, I'm on patrol. I'll check back with you. By the time I got back around, the sign was being carried under their arm. They were headed towards their cars. And when I went by, that one guy that was real, he's a butthole. Let's just say it. Boy, he gave me a bad look. And I think he really thought that I got them kicked out. I didn't have anything to do with it. But yeah, that's my little story. It looked like they were getting ready to fight the war. That's what it looked like to me. The problem with that is they take yes, absolutely. Yes. That's exactly what was going on in their literature. I mean, this sign was huge, man. It took 2 of them to carry them. It was a big, heavy sign, too. I ain't talking about some cardboard thing. This thing, if it fell on you, it would hurt you. It was huge. They had some sort of metal stand that they put it on. And, I mean, it was big. So, like, you could see it approaching from the back of the parking lot. You could almost read it probably from the back. It was a big sign. It's like, my gosh. So I have, not in Atlanta, though, which is funny. Never ran into him. I did run into a guy that attacked us in a neighborhood, but he wasn't that. He was just an angry guy. He did not like we were in his neighborhood. And he ran at us like he could just run right through us. And I told the guy, because we were Christians, that was his question. Are you guys Christians? And my little buddy, I'm not going to say his name. He ministers he's been across the water, as we say, but his ministry's here in the States now. We had arranged this outreach together, and he was in front of it. First house we went to, and he couldn't even say it. He just shook his head. That guy went ballistic, right? I mean, just coming at us, and I was behind my buddy. I turned around, he was gone. He passed me like on the NASCAR track. So the guy's coming at me. I can't see him, but I can hear him. And I don't know if he's got anything in his hands. And I said, let me tell you something. I'm not running. And he said, you're going to get out of here. I said, I'm getting out of here. And I said, if you strike me as I'm trying to leave, I promise you I'll press charges. I said, we didn't do anything wrong. We have a right to come knock on your door. You can tell us to leave, and that's what we're doing. But I will not run, because what I carry is the greatest knowledge you could ever have, and that's the gospel of Jesus Christ. He stood out he called all of his neighbors and told us, the Christians are here. He was screaming it, the Christians are here. He stood out. And yeah, a lot of doors closed to us, but we did have some open. And people told us, they said, yeah, he's called everybody. We knew you were here. They were kind, but they said, we're not interested. So he stands out in the street, screaming at the top of his lungs, the Christians are here. Anyway, so we come back up the street, and I said, he's in the middle of the street like this. He's not that big of a guy. And I said, are you going to block the street? I said, you don't own the street, brother. You don't own the street. And my buddy said, the same one. What are we going to do? I said, we're going to walk around him. But we're walking. We're not running. Oh. I'm in LA. Okay, and I see them on the streets. I don't judge if they really don't like us and they talk about enslaving us, white people, and that's not true. So where it is. Yeah, again, that's what they say. Well, there's a lot of people in our country that would like to enslave white people and Christians, especially Christian white people. We have a lot of militant top presence in our country. It's concerning because they do bring on. Listen, in the jails have been a recruiting ground for this mentality for a long time, and they really buy into the force. We'll stand together, brothers in arms, and we'll fight for you and with you. Join us, brother. And it really plays well, so they convert to it, and they. I, no, I don't, broski. Flat out, no, no. Um, but I have heard that teaching as well. But no. Well, you know what I believe? We're all cursed. It's called sin. We have the curse of sin upon us. And the only answer is the blood of Jesus Christ. So do I believe that those people are cursed? Well, sure, because I am. It's the creation is cursed. It's under the curse of sin. So I know some people don't like that. They're Buddhist or they're whatever. Uh, yeah, I've heard that too. But people take that to a level that's not meant to be. But no, I don't believe that. No, I don't. Dear brothers in Christ, I have many. So they're not doomed. You know, there's one answer. I mean, people believe you're cursed and you can never go to heaven. Well, that's not true. You can. You just have to be forgiven. It's simple. It's free. It's simple. So yeah, it's amazing. Man likes to make up all these rules, don't he? Who can, who can't, how you do it. You know what that's called? That's called religion. I don't have religion. I got relationship. Amen. I'm covered. Am I perfect? No. But I know in whom I have believed. I know. And he is more than able. We are more than conquerors through Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen. You know, I've had great conversations in Atlanta, speaking of Atlanta, on the porch of people that were very diametrically opposed. Tremendous respect both ways. I'm not there to be a jerk. But we had nice discussion, and they gave me a lot of time, and they were Islamic. So, and that's what I say. You can't paint the brush. Everybody, I have many friends who are, and I got friends that are Buddhists. I got friends that are they don't believe in anything. I got friends that are Muslim, Islamic. I've got them from all backgrounds. I just went to the funeral for a guy who's Buddhist. What a great guy! I sure miss him. He was just a wonderful guy that worked, and all the other people that were there, we just don't agree. We just don't agree. But it's never a problem. That's what's beautiful about America. The problem would be when we have those people that are militant. They are militant, and so okay, we'll have to have a further discussion about that sometime. It's interesting you phrase that way, but anyway, it's a great discussion. I love you guys. I love having discussion. Another group that likes to argue with me or likes to give me a hard time is the Messianic movement. Boy, they really like to jump down my throat. Oh, I've ran into them a few times. It's funny because they're not Jews; they're Gentiles. But boy, they get fired up. You know what? I just love people. I just love people, and I try to discuss all matters. I want to. I want to argue. I don't like to argue because I don't think it's productive. But I do try to have respect, and I love people, and love goes a long way. You got to prove it over time. You can't just say it. If you love somebody and you show it, you've won half the battle, maybe more than half, because they love you back. And I've always said this: my love is not extended because of what you do or don't believe. If you never believe, you're still my friend, and I still love you. However, I want you to believe, and I'm praying for you to believe. But you're my friend. You're my friend. That changes not. A friend, that's a high value to have a friend, and I put a high value on it. And I'll stand with my friends. I won't turn on them. We may disagree. There may be things I can't be a part of, but I will never turn on a friend. I try not to turn on anybody, but certainly my friends. You know, I'll never turn them away. If they fall, they fall. I'm still going to be their friend, even if it's something horrible they did. I would not be happy that they did that, and I would feel bad for the people they hurt. But they would still be my friend, because that should be strong. And I would visit them in jail, and continue to try to assist to help them, and it's still a person. And some people commit. Some people that are really generally most of the time good can get into a place mentally or through the use of alcohol or drugs, and they can have very bad things happen. And in their right frame of mind, they would have never been involved with those things. And so it's horrible. It's horrible all the way around. NC native. Dang right, baby. Always bringing me laughter. Okay. Eastern Orthodox Christianity. Okay. All are welcome, brother. So I'm not a Baptist or another denomination. What do you think I am? I've told you what I am. I don't have a problem with saying where I attend or where I pastor. But what am I? We're already there, I think, brother. That's what we've been talking about tonight. We're already there. We're already at war with Iran. Even if we don't want to be, we're kind of already. We got old Lindsay out there. Lindsay's making sure we're all involved. Absolutely. I am a Christian, right? I am a Christian. So if I say, well, I'm a Christian, when I give you the denomination is not what saves me. Okay? That's just where I identify with generally the belief of, how we see things doctrinally. But they don't agree. It's a wide range. Wide range. But I got friends in all. I love it. You're awesome. I do pastor a Baptist church, independent. I'm not a part of the association. It's a small little country church. We got a handful of people that love God. We want to grow, but we have what we have. We have from very senior saints all the way down to a kid or two, and we're just trying to be obedient. And we love God, and we love each other. I love my church family. But I think Corey must be followers of Christ in the ways where, yeah, and that's where I say the differences come in. You have the doctrinal difference, but that's what he said there. The worship, you get all these differences of opinion about worship, and I always say, I don't want to argue about it. If your church sees it this way, and we say it this way in your style of worship, I don't. I got bigger fish to fry. You got some groups that say don't have no instruments in the church. I like a little guitar and banjo, piano, organ. But if you don't want to have that in your church, doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me. Is your services more upbeat? or they're a little more solemn. We all have preferences there. I don't think it should be a rock concert. However, I have saw some contemporary artists, and that was kind of like a rock concert, but it wasn't at the church. Music is one of those big ones where people differentiate. They get hung up on that. How you dress, the music, how the service goes. Amen. Amen. Yeah. I tell you, I challenge. Yeah, amen, brother. It's like praying. Everybody's got this idea of how to pray. And Jesus taught the disciples a pattern, a pattern of how to pray. That's not the prayer that has to be prayed every day, but the pattern of it. It's the high points. Take this, pray for these things, expand how you need. Just don't be repetitious. But if you look at the Bible, they prayed in so many different ways. If you tried to pray the way that some of the people in the Bible prayed, you get ran out of most churches. Just think about it. Oh. I know you are. I love it. You really should be on stage. You, you're really quick. My mind, I just can't. It doesn't work that way, but I've got a friend that he can. But I love it. You always have a spin. You always are able to spin. I'm amazed. I bow at your greatness on this. I don't have that skill. Oh, amen. Yeah, it's a community. It is a conversation. We are to come boldly before the throne of grace. But what I meant was even positioning. How did they pray? Some stood up, right? Some bowed their head. Some went to the knee. Some laid down. I did a study on that one time in the church. People don't recognize it. They just go right over those verses. They don't even realize the differences that were in how they pray. It's just, I think, we're all different. We're all different. And I think we end up gravitating to the type of worship that we're comfortable with, that means something to us. And I don't tell another man how to do his church. That's, you know. Have I been to some that I wouldn't be comfortable in? Yeah. But I didn't cause a scene. It's not for me. I sat through and moved on. But I didn't bash them. It's their way. Some couldn't handle being in a quiet church. Some churches are very quiet, very solemn. But it's okay. But y'all brought up some good stuff tonight. I mean, really, really good stuff. And we navigated some really, and I knew going in it was going to be that way. So I was kind of waiting on it. I was a little disappointed. I thought, I can't believe we ain't got there. Well, we did. We did. And I think we all have. I can say this. I think we're all passionate about what's going on. We're just passionate in different ways, and we're trying to develop what we'd like to see out of that. Understanding the realities on the ground is different than maybe we don't like what's going on, or we think it's good, or it might be good, or it might go really bad. And I think those things are definitely on the table. There's definitely a lot of bad things that have happened. There's a lot of worse things that could happen. Is regime change a bad thing in Iran? No, that's probably a good thing. But again, we don't want to see, lots of people die to get there. So let's hope it taps down. We need some peace. This is not stepped off right, I'm going to tell you. We were supposed to be hopefully mostly peace across the world this far into the new administration. It's not worked out. It's not worked out. Coors Light connoisseur said, I've been to all the denomination churches. I chose one for many reasons, but how you worship is up to you. How I worship is up to me. Amen. 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 I agree. That's the whole point. As I don't let someone define to me. So that means I probably wouldn't go somewhere where it's what I'm comfortable with. But again, personal worship can be different than corporate worship. You know, corporately, I'm going to respect what a church has in place. Certainly. But you may expand that when you're alone and you're worshiping alone or at home with your family or something. It may be different. So heck no. I want to tell you a quick story. Oh my gosh. My father-in-law was I think he became a believer at the very end of his life. I do. We had a lot of conversations leading up to his terminal illness. And he even said, you know, me and you's not going to agree on everything, but he wanted to let me know where he was at. And in his way, he had made peace with that. So anyway, but for a lot of his life, he was a Jehovah's Witness. And I'm not trying to jump on Jehovah's Witnesses. If you're one out there, this is not a jump on Jehovah's. I'm just saying that's what he was. But really what he was a businessman. He was raised that way by his family. As an adult, he didn't go to those things all the time. I never saw him go, honestly. So he was a businessman. But anyway, he was in Mississippi, and it was storming really bad one night. I mean, real bad. Like, he was afraid to keep going. Well, the only thing where he was at and he saw open was a church. And so he goes in this church. And he thought, I'll sit with them. And by the time they get done, the storm will probably be better. And I can just move on down the road. Well, they were singing and preaching and all that. Well, they got down to the offering. And so they sent the offering plates around. Well, he put a $20 bill in the offering plate. Not bad. It's a visitor, you know. He gave something. While they started singing, or they were singing while they were taking out the offering, the plates came back. They counted it right there in front of everybody. They didn't have a little room. They just counted it. And they got done. The pastor was shaking his head like, ugh. So he gets up and he tells the congregation, listen. I know we can do better than this. We got to have more faith. And we're going to have to dig deep now. We're going to have to dig deep. And we're going to have to, it's got to be better. We're going to send the plates around again. Well, my father-in-law, he said, I was thinking, wow, okay. What's going on here? But okay. They passed it around again. I don't think he put anything in that time. He just let them go on by. He's like, okay, this is on them, you know. I don't even go to church here. They brought it back. They were not happy. So same story again, except with a little twist. They said the same thing. Like, we're not going to stop the service till we're not being faithful here. And we're not going to leave this church until we get more faith and are given. And my father-in-law heard the front door locked. Click. He got the message loud and clear. It wasn't for them. It was for him. So he said when that offering plate came around that time, he put $200 in. And the 20 was already in there. When it went back around, as soon as they saw it come up, they were like, and the service ended. He told me, he said, I believe if I hadn't have gave that $200, I wasn't getting out of there. He believed that with all of his heart. He said that was an expensive pullover, $220. Hello, Jake. How are you, bud? Jake from the great, speaking of Mississippi, say the name and they pour out. Jake's from the great state of Mississippi. But he said when that front door got locked, he's like, uh-oh. Ruh-roh. We got a problem. And the problem is me. And I'm thinking even, yeah, I did like the song. Well, the redone song. I don't know if I've heard the redone song, Jake. Did you change Rob's name out, put my name in? If you did, I'll listen. He said, I didn't know if they had rattlesnakes. That's what made me remind me. He said, I don't know if they had rattlesnakes, but I wasn't going to find out. He said, it was worth the $200 for me to get out of there. Money well spent. I don't know if he heard banjos, but he probably thought he did. He said, I didn't even know really where I was at. Dark, rainy, stormy night. I'm just trying to get down Long Highway, get on down to this. He used to do a lot of conventions. They had a business, and he would go to these conventions, and him and his brothers had a business, and he would go and present the product at these big conventions in cities and stuff. So all over the place. So he was traveling with money and product, and they knew it. It's a voluntary donation. Well, sure, but they ain't gonna lock the door. Oh, Jake says, by the way, I rated someone as SFP is doing a partner party, and she works in the telecommunications business. Awesome, brother. Awesome. Thanks for promoting the SFP the world over. But yeah, I'll have to hear the song. Oh, but I do like the gospel song about the snakes. That song is hilarious. I would not want to be coming out. I'm not down with the snakes, man. I'll tell you, I'm not. I'd be making a new door as well. I'm not making fun of anybody. That's just not my gig. If you do that, that's on you. I'm out. Oh. No, I didn't, Jake. I don't know what you mean by that. I didn't get mad at you for hitting. What do you mean hitting? Hitting. I don't want you to hit anybody. What was that hit? I don't remember that. Oh, Robert got mad? For what? Rob gets mad sometimes. He'll get over it. Sometimes I get mad. I don't know what was the hit. I don't remember this story. Oh, rating. Why did he get mad that you rated? He don't even know what that means, dude. I think he totally misunderstood what you're talking about. I promise you, he didn't understand what you were talking about. He's not. He doesn't. He was talking to me yesterday. He's like, some stuff. He says, I'll help you all I can, but that's not my strength. He don't do the technical stuff much. I show him what to do. He doesn't. So. All right, man. Coors Light connoisseur. Not a Coors, but a Coors Light connoisseur. All right, fellas, I'm about to head home. It's been a long day. We had some good conversations. Thanks for talking to me. Have a good night. You too, be safe out there. Please come back. We would love to talk to you more. You have brought a lot of addition to the show. And Broski, I don't know if you're still out there. You and NC Native, y'all are awesome. Y'all are awesome. There's people you probably got your own fan club in here. They just come to hear you. Forget me. Because they're a Yankee. They were Southern. I rated. Who cares, Jake? We not think. I don't care. Rate them. It's like a Southern rating party. We've done that in the Civil War. I don't care. You got my permission, Jake. I promise you, I don't think you knew what you were talking about. I don't care. Man, I got this program. Yeah. Yankees. I've got our program on liberal channels. I got a, you know what? I find a few friends. You just broke your heel. Well, be careful. What do you mean heel? Are you wearing high heels? I just give you a hard time. I get it. Don't be a heel. I walked into my church. It was last week or week before, and they give me a hard time about being a Yankee. So I walked into the church and I said, "Now be careful, man. We don't want you to get hurt." Anyway, I walked in, and one of them that greets us, he said, how are you doing today, Brother David? I said, "I'm feeling great. I feel like a Yankee." He took his hand back. What? I said, "I got you, didn't I?" Oh. Producer right to the StreamYard. Why would I need to give you that, Jake? Why? Why do I have to give you that, Jake? I got to draw the line here now. All I got to do is create the show and bring you up. Why do you got to be producer? Producer power. Why, you going to boot me off my own show? We're going to do a wrestling show together. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but we're going to have a dang lot of fun. Oh, we might not have a show together after that comment. You can help me without being a producer. I have to ask Robert about that. You know, we are a partnership. No, technology does mix. It's Robert that doesn't mix with technology. I'm the one that does the technical stuff, Jake. You've helped me with some stuff, and yes, you were just more knowledgeable in that area. But I've built what we have with help from Chris. We got her going. Hey, it's going to be a great week. This is the kickoff day. Happy Father's Day. I'm going to be getting off here. We got early morning shows in the morning, so I need you guys. I've loved the show. Thank y'all so much. God bless you from every stream. I took a week off from work. I'm going to be working on the business side of the podcast this week, along with all the shows. Tuesday, I am going to be working the elections. It's a very small election in Georgia, but an important one. Public Service Commissioner. This is the primary. So Tuesday, I may be on late Tuesday, and I'll be on very early, like before, unless you work all night, you probably won't. But I'm going to get up early and do a show. We don't normally I do a show on Tuesdays. Me and Rob do not do a show together. So we're going to move the racing hour to tomorrow night, I believe, because I will not get home till 10 o'clock. Usually that's right at 10 when I get home. And, I love it, man. You're killing me. But I know some of you in the chat, you're like, why is he laughing? Sometimes chats crack me up. But it's good. We're going to do a lot. We're going to get a lot of stuff set up, hopefully, over this week. I got to make it count. So I'll be working behind the scenes a lot. But we'll do all the shows that we do. We appreciate your support of the Southern Fried and all the other shows on the Rumble family, especially that you help support. They're great people. Love them all. And Monday's going to kick off a lot of new shows. It depends on what time, Jake. Depends on what time. You keep making comments to me like that. No, not going to come up. I don't take that abuse. Oh, I love you, man. I usually just joke around and get along. I don't usually get mad too easy. Jake, you're going to be the voice. I'm just going to be the color commentator. I'm going to let you just talk it up. What's Jake's famous line? What is it you always say? You know, because you even put it up as your tagline. Here's the deal. Ain't that what you say? Here's the deal. Everybody's got something. They say or yes or like or literally. Jake says, here's the deal. I say, by the way, a lot. I mean, important stuff's going to follow. Hey, y'all have a great night. Yeah, here's the thing. That's what he says. Here's the thing. The deal. Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's Jake's. And sometimes he don't never tell me what the thing is. He just says, here's the thing. And I go, was that the thing? I don't know what the thing was. He does, by the way, too. By the way, by your leave. I hope y'all, if you are working tomorrow, have a great work day. I'll be on early with a show before me and Rob go live. I'm doing an audio 30-minute news show called The Cornbread Man Morning Show. It's only audio, no video. It's heard live on Podbean, and then it goes to all the other MP3 sites. But I'm doing that show live myself in studio, 5 to 5:15, depends on when I get up. We hit the major stuff for the news, usually 3 main topics, and then we're out. So, did I see that CM Punk was at the no? I didn't see every. I don't think I saw that. I saw the girl that was trying to stop the ice truck. Ice, not in cold ice. In arresting ice. She was crying, screaming, "Don't kill me." I saw that multiple times. I saw so many loony videos over the weekend of people just going off the rails, screaming, hollering. Oh, could they just not squeal with that voice they have? I mean, it's just, gets on my nerves. Oh, they just try to hate on Trump all weekend long. We'll talk about some of this week. I saved some news for Rob. We're going to talk about. Love you too, bro. I love you, bro. We're going to talk. We got to figure out what night we're doing that show, man. What night we doing that show? I can't do Saturday night. We got to talk about that. We have options. It's once a month for right now. Once a month. Let's do it within the next 2 weeks. The left is the peak of shriek. Yes. Oh my gosh. It hurts my ears, man. I might even listen to them a little more just for the comedy value. If they didn't have that shriek, man, it's just like goes right through me. It's like the nails on the chalkboard. I'm just flipping the channel, turning the volume down as fast as I can. It's like, who wants to hear that? And there's just a lot of screwed up people out there. I mean, my gosh. Running after cars, trying to step in front of cars. Okay, Jake, I'm biting. This whole last comment, I want you to watch it. It's on YouTube. It's called Heroes of Wrestling. It's the worst wrestling show ever. So what you're saying, Jake, is you don't want to be bad like that. I'll pull it up and watch it, Jake. But listen, I don't know what you're inferring there. I will never be that bad. I can wing it and be better than that. I don't even have to see it to know that. It ain't my first rodeo. Antifa has tactics. But they should use some Tic Tacs. I can see it. I can see it now. You go down the line and say, how about a Tic Tac? I got orange. I got green. I got white. I got the citrus. They're all citrus. I got the Sprite ones. Have you had those? I got the ones that are all like berry, cherry, all that. Hey, I got some Tic Tacs, folks. Could I just give you a Tic Tac? They'd probably throw a stone at me or something or spit on me. I like the idea, man. They could use some Tic Tacs. Oh, I wish we had some magic, something like that we could give people. All of a sudden, they take it and they go, "Oh, I remember now. Oh, I wasn't supposed to act like that. I'm normal now. I'm back to me. Oh, I'm sorry. Why am I here? Oh, I love America. Hey, I'm out. Could could we not have that? You go passing out a Tic Tac, and all of a sudden everybody goes, "Could we just all sing a song?" He's got the whole world in his hands. It's called DMT. Ask Joe Rogan about it. Okay. I'll do that. Oh, I could go on all night. I was thinking every time you say something, I think of Joe Rogan is one of those characters. People either they love him or hate him, but they change opinions all the time. The same people. I hate Joe Rogan. Then they go, "Hey, I kind of like that Joe Rogan now." That's a sign you got something good going on. And then they say, "I love him. Oh, he made me mad the other night. I might not listen no more." Of course, you know they are. Whatever you think about him, he's got it. That's why his ratings are so good. He ticks off everybody, but he makes everybody happy too. Hey, success, baby. Ring it up. That's when you know. If they're talking about you, even a bad way, you've succeeded because you are on their lips. You have won the battle. The marketing is so easy after that. You just keep the channel coming. So the more people know, they'll come to hate on you or they'll come to love you. Hey, y'all have a great night. Before my eyes just close on me, I got a few things I need to get finished. I'm looking forward to Monday. We're gonna kick some butt, take some names. Tuesday, I'm gonna reunite with my tags. Where'd that come from? My elections team. Love those guys and gals. So it's just a small group this time. Small election. Be a long day. There'll be a lot of times for me to communicate about podcasts. And we just got good things working. I'm excited about it. We're gonna make it better. Thank you. I appreciate that so very much, and you as well. Oh, I was listening real quick. It reminded me, NC and Broski, you're North Carolina. Daniel Suarez. He won Saturday. Didn't win today. Of course, he's in Mexico from Mexico. But he said, we're going to celebrate this day. And then he said, well, then we're back to, and when always with that accent, they always say, Charlotte. I'll be going back to Charlotte the next day. Well, we say Charlotte. They say Charlotte. It's a different emphasis. It cracked me up. I thought about it, broski. Headed your way, baby. From Mexico to Charlotte. Maybe that's the way we're supposed to say it. But here in America, we're going with Charlotte. All right, let's go some music on the way out. Let's rock it. Let's do a little Southern Fried Thunder. Yeah.